A topic's been coming up a lot lately that I wanted to address, and that's about starting your business, side business, consulting, private practice while working a 9 to 5 job. So I wanted to address that in today's conversation and really make you feel comfortable, as comfortable as possible, knowing that starting your business is inherently involving risk. I want to just be honest with you about what the options are as you are working in your 9 to 5, or maybe you're in your dietetic internship, but I'm going to frame today's conversation as if you're working a 9 to 5 job. So if you're anything like me, you probably were told and thought that you had to do clinical for at least 2 years to be considered anyone worthy of taking on a client. Now, that's a myth, and my hopes are to debunk that myth here at Dietitian Boss. And so many dietitians feel that way, and it's largely because the curriculum in dietetics hasn't been updated in nearly a century. And there's a lot of old school preceptors and curriculum that really suggests that we have to go into this clinical track, even though being a dietitian means so many things. There's so many avenues and angles that we can pursue as a dietitian outside of the traditional 9 to 5 clinical job. So let's assume that you are working a 9 to 5. Maybe it's clinical, maybe it's a food bank, maybe it's WIC, whatever the 9 to 5 job is. I'm sure it's clinical because more than 60% of you go into clinical as a dietitian. So just want to let you know that if you're working a 9 to 5 job, that's the best opportunity for you to build your side business or your private practice. And let me explain why. So building your business is the tricky thing is that you don't have to know what it looks like. Maybe you'll decide later that you want to have a group practice and you want to employ other dietitians under you to coach and consult your clients. And maybe you don't want to do that and you actually just want a solo practice and you want to be the only one serving your clients, or you want to offer some programs. You want to offer a membership or a course or group programming, and you want to be the only one supporting your clients. So there are many different ways that you can run your business, but you don't have to know what that looks like from the beginning. What you do need to do, though, if you're looking to make money and you're looking to feel satisfied and you're looking to get started while you're working in a clinical setting, or 9 to 5, just for those of you who aren't in clinical, maybe you're in food service, corporate, whatever, you can take at least an hour a week. So if we think at minimum, all right, if I've got 60 minutes a week, what are the steps that I can do to work towards bringing something on the side? And again, you don't have to know what that's going to look like long term. You do not have to, at this point, define your messaging and your niche. What you do need to do is have an open mind and really employ some level of courage. And so I'll share an experience when I first worked in clinical and I started my dietitian consulting practice on the side. It started with me first working overtime. I just took an opportunity to get more hours of clinical experience, right? Because I'm obviously a glutton for punishment and I, I didn't like clinical, but I said, well, I'm already here, might as well work more hours and get paid more, right? So it was logical to me. So I worked more hours as a clinical dietitian. That was the first opportunity I took. Second thing I did is teaching and speaking. So I got one opportunity, then I, leveraged the network and they liked me as a speaker. So then I got more and more opportunities. Then people saw me speaking and I got asked for another opportunity to teach. I mean, I'm an educator, so I just did a lot of educating and teaching and speaking and consulting. And in doing so, what I did, if you peel back the how did that happen while I was working a 9 to 5 job, is one opportunity at a time. So when I did the teaching and speaking, it was either an hour before work, an hour after. There were a couple exceptions where I was able to take off a day or a lunch break or something and go do a speech and then come back to my clinical job. If you're looking to dedicate 1 hour a week, you can build your practice on the side. It doesn't have to be that you're doing one-on-one coaching. You could do teaching and speaking like me or consulting. There are so many opportunities that you can find on the internet. There are also opportunities you can find from friends and family. What you need to do is tap into your ability to listen and sense what is an opportunity and how can you position yourself as an option to be employed for that opportunity. Now, that advice that I just shared, coupled with my experience, because I was sharing my story, that can be applied to anybody, no matter where you live or what stage of business you're in, or, how you're kind of thinking and feeling. That's kind of general. What really helped me kick off my career and find purpose in my life and true meaning was when I really leveraged social media. Because here's the thing with tapping your local network and doing things with wherever you live is that there's a limit. So maybe you live in Boise, Idaho, or Montana, and you're just living in a less populous state. Your reach is only as good as wherever you live. But when you tap into social, your reach is expanded. And so that's when I really was able to substantially increase my efforts and see the rewards, is when I shared my story on social media. I just talked about what I was doing as a consultant. I was teaching and speaking, specifically doing education work. I was creating programs and curriculum and teaching a lot of lessons specifically for the interdisciplinary team. So I taught the dental residents and pediatric residents and medical students about nutrition for actually 4 academic years before I quit that and became full-time a dietitian boss. So in teaching that, I made extra money. I built my skills. I was able to build a practice while working a 9-to-5 job. Okay. But really what kicked it off was being able to share that story on social media and then take the skills that I had learned from tapping into my network, right? My network, which happened to be New York City. And I was able to package that online and then get even more opportunities. And without even trying, I just showed up online and I shared what I was doing. I did start to get more clear and use calls to action and tell people I could help them make money too, the way that I had. And I was able to I even got more speaking gigs off of social media. I had Nutrition Society reach out to me, ask me to go to their conference, and they would pay me. I got another gig to do nutrition speaking for thousands of dollars at a local school. So I had opportunities to continue talking about nutrition. Until then, I saw there were more opportunities to then help my colleagues and peers teach how they could talk about nutrition, which is teaching the teacher. And so that was my story. And if you peel it back, you can build your private practice as a consultant, as a teacher, as a speaker, even if you are doing coaching. And I did coaching as well while I was working full time. You have to think about how you want to manage it. And if I were to go back, I probably would have done less of the coaching while working full time, because that did start to add a lot of hours into my day. Especially I would work and then I would come home and coach on the weekends. And those were long days. And if I would have known to package my programming into a group earlier, I would have. So I waited a little too long for groups. This was years ago. And when I did start to run groups, that's when our business grew substantially. We hit the $1 million mark in annual revenues, and we were able to help so many dietitians, 1,000 dietitians at that point. And that was a really special milestone for us. And if I were to look back, I would have been able to work less hours and commit myself in a way that would have prevented more burnout if I would have just not done as many one-on-one sessions. So that's something that I've been able to program into Dietitian Boss. Is in the methodology, I give you a couple options. So in our Rebellion program, which is intended for those of you who only have an hour a week, you can create a course, an online course, and sell it. And that does not require any of the one-on-one component, because the one-on-one naturally adds more time, right? If you're working a 9-to-5 job, and then if you have commute, if you're not working remote right now, let's just assume you are working in an office, you have the travel time, you got to dedicate yourself to the 9-to-5, and then you have to have some downtime. If you can pad in at least an hour a week, you can dedicate that time to packaging a course and putting it on the internet, and then being able to leverage social media and your network to tell them you have the course, to sell it. And that does not require any additional time on your end to administer or teach the content, because you've already packaged it online and your course is living on a learning management system. Or if you're trying to do it on the fly, you could actually put it on YouTube unlisted, so it's only available for folks who have the link. We're not going to get too into the tactics today. The purpose of me sharing this conversation is because for those of you who feel that you can't get started while working a full-time job, you can. It's a matter of time management. And it's not taught in school. So I understand that it feels a little weird, like, oh, can I do it? Is it possible? And the answer is yes. If you do coaching, it will be a little bit of a time commitment, right? That's real tricky, is to go from a full-time job to full-time coaching, because it's going to just be a lot of hours. So a lot of professionals will tell you to build up your schedule in the summer, but then you got to wait and time that strategically. So what I would say is that if you are looking to go full time, or you're looking to build something and you don't know what it looks like, start with a passive income, which is something that you is a course, and that's something that you can sell without selling a lot of your time. Or if you are going to sell what's called active income, meaning you're trading your time for dollars, if there's any way that you could sell your time where you are helping more than one person in that time. So that could be group programming, or it could be speaking and teaching, right? That's what I did, right? Speaking and teaching, and you get more money per hour, more, and then you get to see more clients per hour, which is a better way to leverage your time. So there's so many ways you can make it work. Ultimately, I've laid out a few tactics, right? What to offer. That would be something that doesn't require your time or requires less of your time. How to do it, 1 hour a week or less is going to help go a long way, especially if you're using that hour to create an online course. And you can create a short online course. So it's not going to be a 5-hour course. You're creating something consumable, something tangible that people can buy, and something that people will finish, right? Because you want people to enjoy the product that you create, and you want to create something based on your knowledge as a dietitian, because we have so much robust knowledge. The last piece I want to mention here, which is the most important part, I saved it for last, and that's your mindset. And I think this question stems largely from our mindset. And if you have the courage and the willingness to put yourself in a position that feels uncomfortable and that feels weird, and that feels unusual, and that feels like something that you weren't taught in school, that you're not conditioned to do, that's the piece that our clients really struggle with. And I did too, which is why it took me so long, right? I waited until I was already 3-4 years in clinical before I decided to use the internet to leverage my skill set, because I was already in private practice. It just wasn't online. Nobody knew I existed because I was only local to my community. And if you're able to leverage social media sooner, and you're able to build a presence and take those steps towards, being in the direction of defining your audience, you're going to position yourself much better than if you're hiding and invisible. No one knows you exist. And that really stems from the mindset piece, and telling yourself you're worthy, being open to failure, open to possibilities and options, and agile with what's needed to communicate with the world, because there are billions of users on social media, let's say Instagram, and they're searching every day, whether it's nutrition or sports performance, child nutrition, pregnancy, chronic disease, food freedom, anything related to what to eat, meal prep, making food faster, recipes. People are searching. And if they can find information and solutions, and they can link that back to you, whether it's through your hashtag or your content or your presence, you have a better chance of being able to help more people. And so it's truly an advantage if you use that hour a week, first to design something people can buy, and then secondly, to position yourself as an expert. And if you want to know, how do I do that? What does that look like? Almost every single one of my podcast episodes talks about how and what that looks like. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, Dietitian Boss, where I share tips and tricks and tactics on a weekly basis. And then we, of course, release episodes every week with both our clients, our team, and me solo, talking and motivating you to start and operate your private practice so that you can be free, and you can enjoy your life. You can find that personal and financial freedom, which feels really rewarding. And the first step is having the courage to show up. It's having the courage to create an offer. It's having the courage to tell people that you're accepting clients, or that you're selling into your product or service if you're not taking clients one-on-one, as we discussed earlier. And it only takes an hour a week. And I want to invite you to watch our free training, which will be linked below this episode, about the secrets to starting a private practice. And if you're interested in getting support, we have an offer called Rebellion that's reasonably priced to help you get the support that you need, and the framework from the Dietitian Boss Method, so that you can start to create a course, and you can put yourself out there and work an hour a week while working your full-time job, so that you can start working towards becoming your own boss. Really, an hour a week is what it takes, the minimum. Now, of course, if you have more time, that's fantastic. And if you have at least an hour, it's all about using that hour strategically to make sure that you have your things in place, not only compliance, but also an offer, so that you can start helping folks, because helping people get the results that they want, that align with your belief system, that's why we became dietitians, so that we could help more people.